Okay, so uh, have you noticed how much better the writing we see online is these days? It seems like everyone's suddenly become like a total writing pro, you
Yeah.
know, churning out all these polished articles, blog posts, even social media captions. It's impressive, almost like too impressive.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder what's going on.
Right. Like, is everyone secretly a grammar whiz now?
Uh,
Or is there something else at play?
Well, the timing of this shift in writing quality is pretty interesting because it really seems to coincide with the rise of AI writing assistants.
Ah, so that's what we're diving into today, AI writing
Right.
assistant.
Exactly. These AI tools are becoming so sophisticated, and it's really sparking a lot of discussion about the future of writing.
I bet. So is that the big reveal? Are we all secretly using AI to make our writing better?
Well, that's what we're going to unpack today. We're going to figure out how to use these AI writing assistants without sounding like, well, a robot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because let's be real.
Mm.
Nobody wants to read something that sounds like it was written by a computer, right?
Mm.
We all still crave that human touch, that unique voice that makes writing interesting and engaging.
Absolutely. And that's where this recent article from Independent Urdu comes in.
Oh, independent Urdu. Okay,
Yeah. They outline 7 key techniques for using AI to improve your writing without losing your personal style.
perfect. So in this deep dive, we're going to break down those 7 techniques and hopefully give you, the listener, some actionable advice on how to use AI effectively without sacrificing that authentic voice of yours.
Sounds good.
Okay, so the article starts off by addressing this fear a lot of people have of their writing sounding too robotic.
Right.
And it actually points out that a lot of times AI-generated text has these telltale signs that kind of give it away.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
Yeah.
what are some of those signs? Spill the tea.
Okay. Well, one sign is the overuse of adverbs. AI tends to really pepper sentences with words like very extremely or remarkably, which can make the writing sound a bit exaggerated and unnatural.
Ah, so it's like that friend we all have who uses literally in every sentence. You
Exactly.
just want to be like, hey, maybe just dial back a notch.
Yeah, exactly. And then another giveaway is repetitive phrasing. AI often struggles to vary its sentence structure and vocabulary. So you end up with this kind of monotonous and predictable style.
Ooh, yeah. It's like reading an instruction manual or
Yeah.
listening to like a broken record.
That's a good way to put it. And the article emphasizes that while this robotic style might be fine for certain tasks, like generating basic reports or summaries, it's definitely not what we're aiming for if we want to create engaging and persuasive content.
Right. So rule number 1 from the Independent Urdu article, don't just hit publish on that raw AI output.
Yeah.
Treat it like a first draft, not the finished product.
Exactly. The article stresses that AI should be seen as a tool, not a replacement for human writers.
Right.
It can help us generate ideas, overcome writer's block, even improve our grammar and syntax, but ultimately it's still up to us, the human writers, to shape the narrative, infuse it with personality, and make sure it resonates with our audience.
So it's like having a superpowered editor.
Right.
Like, they can help us refine our thoughts, but they can't actually do the thinking for us.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. And this is where the article's forbidden words list comes into play.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how AI sometimes uses the same phrases over and over again?
Oh my gosh. Yes. All the time. It's like they have this limited vocabulary or something.
Well, the forbidden words list is a way to kind of break that loop. You can tell the AI to avoid certain overused phrases or jargon that you find particularly annoying, and it forces the AI to come up with more creative and original language.
That's brilliant. Like giving the AI a crash course in good taste.
Haha, exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about avoiding robotic writing. But what about developing a unique style? I mean,
Hmm?
nobody wants to sound like a generic AI bot, right?
Right.
We want to retain our own distinctive voice.
Absolutely. And the article actually provides some really insightful techniques for achieving this. They suggest analyzing your best writing, the pieces you're most proud of, and identifying the patterns that make your style unique.
So it's like giving the AI a blueprint of your writing DNA,
Right.
showing it what makes your voice stand out.
Precisely. The article recommends paying attention to things like your sentence structure, your word choice, use of metaphors and analogies, even the rhythm and cadence of your writing. And once you've identified these key elements, you can actually guide the AI to replicate them, creating content that sounds like it was written by you, not a generic algorithm.
Oh, that's wild. It's like having a digital ghostwriter that's learning to mimic your voice.
It is kind of like that.
But wouldn't that be kind of creepy? Imagine opening a document and seeing words that sound exactly like you, but you know you didn't write them.
Yeah, it can feel a bit strange.
Like AI Uncanny Valley or something.
Right. But the article emphasizes that the goal isn't to create a perfect replica of your writing style. It's more about using AI as a tool for enhancing and refining your own voice.
Got it. So it's like having a writing partner that can help you push your boundaries and explore new possibilities within your own unique style.
Exactly. And this brings us to another crucial aspect of effective writing, understanding your audience. Because no matter how well written something is, if it doesn't resonate with the people you're trying to reach, it's not going to achieve its purpose.
So true. So, dear listener, take a moment and picture your ideal reader. Who are you writing for? What are their interests? What keeps them up at night?
Yeah, those are great questions. And it leads perfectly into the article's next point. The independent Urdu article suggests that the most effective writing is tailored to a specific reader, just like you're asking our listeners to do right now.
It's like the difference between a generic marketing email blast and a personalized message that speaks directly to your needs and interests.
Right.
One you just ignore and the other you're like, ooh, tell me more.
Exactly. And to help you personalize your content, the article suggests creating what's called a reader persona. It's basically a detailed profile of your ideal audience, including their demographics, interests, values, even their pain points and aspirations.
So it's like creating a character sketch for the person you're trying to reach with your writing. The more vivid and detailed the persona, the better you'll understand their needs and how to connect with them on an emotional level.
Exactly. And once you've created this reader persona, you can actually feed those details into your AI prompts to guide the writing process.
Oh, so instead of just saying write a blog post about X, you might say write a blog post about X for a tech-savvy millennial who's passionate about sustainability and is looking for practical tips on how to reduce their carbon footprint.
That's a great example. The more specific you are with your prompts, the more likely you are to get results that resonate with your target audience.
This is blowing my mind. It's like, it's not just about getting the words down. It's about being strategic and intentional with every choice you make.
I know. It really changes how you think about writing.
It totally does. Okay, so we've talked about avoiding sounding robotic. We've talked about staying true to your voice. And we've even touched on tailoring your content to a specific audience. But what about actually getting the content out there? Like, that's where things get really time-consuming, right?
It can be. But that's where AI writing assistants can really shine. The article highlights how AI can be a game changer for repurposing content across different platforms.
Oh, yeah. Like taking leftovers and transforming them into a whole new dish. Creative and efficient.
I love that analogy. So imagine taking a blog post you've written and effortlessly turning it into a series of tweets, LinkedIn updates, or even a script for a short video.
So you could take one piece of content and multiply it across various platforms, reaching a wider audience without having to start from scratch each time. What a time saver.
Exactly. And the article offers some great tips for making the most of AI for content repurposing, like crafting platform-specific prompts, building a system for content multiplication, and even training the AI to adjust the tone and style for each platform.
Well, that's smart, because you wouldn't use the same tone and style for a LinkedIn post as you would for a TikTok video, right?
Exactly. Each platform has its own unique language and conventions, and AI can help you adapt your content accordingly.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so now let's say you're thinking bigger picture. You're building a business, you're establishing yourself as a thought leader. This next point is crucial, staying on brand.
You're absolutely right. The article advocates for choosing 3 to 5 core themes that guide your content creation. These themes act as a compass, ensuring consistency and helping you attract the right audience.
So it's like creating a content strategy that aligns with your brand identity, your values, and your overall goals. It helps you stay focused and avoid going off on tangents that might confuse or alienate your audience.
Exactly. And this ties back to that forbidden words list we talked about earlier. It's not just about avoiding overused phrases. It's about steering clear of topics or stances that don't align with your brand identity.
Right, because everything you publish online contributes to your overall brand image. You want to make sure it's all telling a consistent and compelling story.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about how to avoid sounding robotic, how to develop a unique voice, how to tailor your content to your audience, how to repurpose content efficiently, and how to stay on brand. But there's another side to this AI writing conversation that we need to address, the ethical considerations.
You're absolutely right. We've been focusing on the positive aspects of AI writing, but it's important to acknowledge that there are some ethical questions that come along with it.
Totally. So let's dive into that a bit.
Yeah.
What does the independent Urdu article have to say about the ethics of using AI for writing?
Well, the article emphasizes that using AI for enhancement is one thing. Think of it like using a thesaurus or a grammar checker. But passing off AI-generated content as entirely your own is another matter entirely.
Yeah, that's like the difference between using a calculator to check your math and claiming you solved a complex equation all on your own.
Exactly. The article really stresses the importance of transparency and proper attribution. If you're using AI, be upfront about it. Explain to your audience how you're using these tools to enhance your writing, and always give credit where credit is due.
Right, because AI at its core is based on existing data and information. So if you're not careful, you could accidentally plagiarize someone else's work without even realizing it.
That's a real concern. So
Mhm.
it's really important to be mindful of where your AI is getting its information from and to double check for any unintentional plagiarism.
Okay. So as we embrace these powerful new AI writing tools, we also need to embrace the responsibility that comes with them.
Absolutely. It's about using AI ethically, thoughtfully, and in a way that respects the integrity of writing and the value of original thought.
Beautifully said. So to recap, we've learned how to avoid sounding robotic, how to stay on brand, how to be ethically responsible. But what else should our listeners keep in mind as they embark on this AI writing journey?
Well, one thing the article really emphasizes is the importance of having an experimental mindset. Don't be afraid to play around with different prompts, refine your techniques over time, and see what works best for you.
It's like learning any new skill. Practice makes perfect. The more you experiment with AI writing, the better you'll understand its strengths and limitations,
Mm-hmm.
and the more effectively you'll be able to use it.
Exactly. And the more you use it, the more personalized it becomes. It's like having a ghostwriter that's constantly evolving, becoming more attuned to your style and preferences with each interaction.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's about finding that right balance between human creativity and AI assistance, and using these tools in a way that amplifies your unique voice and helps you achieve your writing goals.
Absolutely. And that's actually where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to explore some even more nuanced and fascinating aspects of AI writing, including the idea of developing a voice with the help of AI and the ethical considerations of using AI to personalize content at scale.
Ooh, I can't wait to dive into that. This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. Stay tuned for part 2.
It's going to be good. You know, it's funny you should mention the whole personalization thing, because it actually ties into something the Independent Urdu article talks about. It's this idea of iteration,
Mm.
like mastering AI writing.
Right.
It's not about just plugging in a prompt and expecting perfect results. It's a process, you know.
Oh, totally. It's like
Yeah.
learning any new skill, like playing an instrument. You wouldn't expect to just sit down at a piano and suddenly be playing Mozart flawlessly.
Right.
It takes practice and feedback and,
Yeah.
a willingness to kind of make those sometimes embarrassing mistakes along the way.
Exactly. And that's actually where AI writing tools can be super helpful. They give you that instant feedback loop. You can experiment with different phrasing, try out different arguments, see how your writing resonates with the AI's analysis.
So it's like having a practice buddy who's always available and never gets tired of hearing you play that same tricky passage over and over again.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like that.
And the best part is, they don't judge you for the occasional sour note.
Exactly. And as you practice and get that feedback, you start to understand what works and what doesn't. You learn how to write more effective prompts, refine your style, and really make that AI work for you.
It's funny because I think there are some people who worry that relying on AI for writing will actually, like, stifle their creativity.
Mhm.
Like, it's going to turn us all into lazy thinkers who just let the machines do the work for us. But I'm starting to see it from a different perspective now.
Oh, I'm curious to hear more about that. What's shifted for you?
Well, I'm starting to think that maybe AI can actually free us up to be more creative, you
Yeah.
know? Like, by taking care of all those more mundane tasks, like grammar spelling,
Yeah.
even suggesting relevant content. It frees up our brains to focus on the bigger picture,
Hmm.
Like, we can spend more time brainstorming ideas, crafting a compelling narrative,
Right.
really figuring out how to connect with our audience on an emotional level.
That's a really interesting point. So it's like AI is taking on the role of this meticulous assistant,
Yeah.
handling all the details, so we can focus on the creative vision.
Exactly. Like,
See,
it's like having a personal chef who preps all your ingredients and cleans up the kitchen afterwards, leaving you to focus on, like, the art of creating that delicious meal.
haha. I like that analogy. And as these AI tools keep evolving, they're becoming even more sophisticated in their ability to understand things like context nuance, even humor.
Which brings us back to that idea we touched on earlier about AI helping us develop a unique writing voice.
Mm.
The article really digs into this concept,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta admit, I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex topic, but it's also what makes this whole AI writing thing so fascinating. The article suggests that By carefully analyzing our own writing style, like we talked about before, identifying those unique patterns and preferences, we can actually train the AI to replicate those elements.
So you're basically creating a digital clone of your writing style, but one that's constantly learning and evolving alongside you.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's like having a digital ghostwriter who's not only capable of producing high-quality content, but also learning to speak in your own distinctive voice.
Wow. I can see how that would be super powerful, especially for people who are building a brand or
Hmm.
trying to establish themselves as like a thought leader in their field. Consistency of voice is so important in those contexts.
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that AI can help with in ways that were just impossible before.
But it also kind of raises some questions, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, what happens to the concept of authenticity when AI is able to mimic anyone's writing style?
That's a great question. And it's something that the article addresses when it talks about the ethical considerations of AI writing.
Right. Because it's one thing to use AI to like enhance your own writing,
Mhm.
but it's totally different if people are using it to create content that sounds like someone else entirely.
Exactly. That's why transparency is so important. If you're using AI to help you write, be upfront about it. Let your audience know how you're using these tools and make sure you're not misrepresenting yourself or your work.
It's like anything else in life. Honesty and integrity are key. We can't let the excitement of this new technology overshadow our ethical responsibilities.
I completely agree. And I think it's important to remember that AI, for all its capabilities, it's still just a tool. It can't replace human judgment, critical thinking, or the ability to really connect with readers on an emotional level.
Right. So we can't just blindly accept whatever the AI gives us. We need to be discerning readers and editors,
Mhm.
using our own human judgment to shape the output, refine the message,
Yeah.
and make sure it aligns with our vision.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, as these AI writing assistants become more and more sophisticated, the role of the human writer actually becomes even more important.
Oh, how so?
Well, because ultimately it's our human judgment, our understanding of context, our ability to connect with other human beings. That's what determines if the writing is actually effective.
It's not enough to just have the technical skills anymore.
Right. AI can be a powerful tool, but it needs a human hand to guide it.
So it's like this whole concept of AI literacy is evolving.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing how to use the tools. It's about understanding what they can and can't do
Yeah.
and recognizing when human input is essential.
I like that.
So in a sense, it's not just about mastering the technology. It's about mastering ourselves, understanding our own strengths and weaknesses as writers, and figuring out how to use AI in a way that amplifies our unique abilities.
That's a really powerful insight. And it makes me think about the broader implications of AI in general.
Yeah.
It's not about replacing humans, it's about augmenting our abilities, expanding our possibilities, and ultimately helping us achieve our goals.
And for writers, that goal is to communicate effectively, connect with readers, and make a meaningful impact with our words.
Exactly. And by embracing these new AI tools with both enthusiasm and critical thinking, we can really unlock a whole new level of writing potential.
I love that unlocking our writing potential. It makes me think about how AI might change the way we approach writing in the future. Like,
Mhm.
what happens when AI allows us to personalize our writing at scale? Imagine that.
Now, that's a fascinating question, and one that I think deserves a deeper dive.
Imagine being able to tailor your message to every single person reading it. Like, you take into account their interests, their background, maybe even how they're feeling that day. It'd be like having a one-on-one conversation with thousands or even millions of people all at the same time.
That's a pretty wild thought, right? Like, it's so different from how we communicate now.
Totally.
We're so used to just blasting out a single message to everyone.
Right.
But imagine if we could craft individual messages that actually resonate with each person.
It'd be like the evolution of the personalized letter, but on a massive scale.
Exactly.
I mean, think about the possibilities. We could have marketing campaigns that feel less like ads
Yeah.
and more like personal recommendations from a friend,
Oh, yeah.
or educational materials that adapt to each student's learning style,
Yeah.
making learning more engaging and effective.
That would be amazing.
And even news articles could be tailored to individual perspectives, letting readers explore different viewpoints on the same event.
I mean, the possibilities are really endless when you think about it.
It's exciting. But hold on a second. Doesn't this level of personalization kind of create an echo chamber effect, where people are only ever exposed to information that confirms their existing beliefs?
That's a really important point, and it brings up some of those ethical concerns we've been talking about throughout this whole deep dive.
Hmm.
If we're not careful, AI-powered personalization could actually make societal divisions even worse by reinforcing existing biases and limiting exposure to different viewpoints.
Right, so it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it.
Exactly. We have to be aware of the potential downsides, even as we get excited about all the possibilities.
We need to have these open and honest conversations about what role we want AI to play in shaping our world.
Our values, our identities, even. It's not about just handing over control to the machines. It's about using AI as a tool to empower ourselves, to create a society that's more informed, more connected, and more equitable.
It sounds like we're standing at this crossroads. We have this incredible technology at our fingertips,
Yeah,
but it's up to us to decide how we're going to use it.
that's a great way to put it. It really is a crossroads moment.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of AI writing assistants, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this conversation?
I think the most important message here is that AI is fundamentally changing how we write, how we communicate, and maybe even how we think. But in the end, it's us, the humans, who get to decide how this technology shapes our future.
We're not just passive bystanders.
Exactly. We need to be active participants in this evolution, guiding its development, setting those ethical boundaries, and making sure that AI ultimately serves humanity, not the other way around.
Well said. So dear listener, as you explore the world of AI writing, remember this, you are the author of your own story. Don't let the machines write it for you.
That's such a good point.
Embrace these new tools. Experiment. Have fun. But do it thoughtfully, ethically, and always with a critical eye.
The power is in your hands.
The future of writing is in your hands. That's it for our deep dive this week. Thanks for joining us.